So chat, I'm kind of late to the party on this one, but I wanted to check this out with you guys on stream while we played a little bit of video games. We're going to react to this, but this is the interview that Elon Musk held with Donald Trump via Twitter Spaces. And my lord, I didn't catch all of this because admittedly, the first time I listened to it, I fell asleep. Okay, it was that bad. Okay, so I'm hoping my reaction to it could be a little bit more entertaining than that for sure. But in any case, I wanted to react to this with you guys, chat, and kind of go over it with you guys. So we're going to listen to it while I play some games. This is the interview between Elon Musk and Donald Trump that was held via a Twitter space. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it.
All right, hello everyone. My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers. And
which, by the way, chat, we haven't even like started, and we're already getting to like some insane levels of cope. All right, let me start my game here, and then I'll show you guys what I'm talking about real quick. Hold on a second. So he talks about how like Twitter suffered a quote denial of service attack that kind of delayed their ability to like host this stream or whatever. It was such bullshit, honestly, chat. I was actually live tweeting this as it was going on. But Elon's interview with Trump has already crashed. So the thing was supposed to start, and it was like several minutes late. I want to say it was like over half an hour late because nobody could get into the damn thing. Just to show you some more of my live tweets, Elon's broken website literally ended Ron DeSantis' campaign. It's about to do the same for Donald Trump. Oh my God. True? What else we got here? DDoS attack my ass. You've broken this website beyond repair. So this was his tweet. There appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it down. Worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later. This is cope, okay? Your website's just trash, and it couldn't support the influx of viewers that were going to be watching this thing. You didn't get DDoS. And the funny thing about it, I'll show you guys like a clip art or like a clipping from like some... I guess it was an article that was done on The Verge, I think, and they talked to some employees at Twitter, and they're like, yeah, Elon's kind of full of shit. There was no DDoS attack. Our servers just couldn't handle that traffic. Here we have things are going well for Elon and Donald. Trump on X was trending, along with crashed and DDoS. What else do we have here? I'm dead. So this is him. We tested the system with 8 million concurrent listeners earlier today. We will proceed with a smaller number of concurrent listeners at 8:30 Eastern, and then post the unedited audio immediately thereafter. Talks about the DDoS attack. Somebody says it's Dems fighting to save democracy from two massive disruptors. To which Elon said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, chat. I know we just started this segment, but that's cope."
You are coping.
It's fucking cope. Like, your website is just broken ever since you took over, and it just can't handle the traffic. Like, it couldn't handle the traffic. DDoS attack my fucking ass.
Coping so hard.
Hold on, retard break. I need a retard break.
Jeez. Okay. What else do we have here? Then and now. Oh, this is Trump on Truth Social, basically shitting on Ron DeSantis for the bad Twitter space that he had. Wow. The DeSantis Twitter launch is a disaster. His whole campaign will be a disaster. Watch. So this was back then. This was May 24, 2023, when Ron DeSantis did his Twitter space and it didn't go so well. And now we have this. Bitching about imaginary DDoS attacks and how it's the Dems' fault. The Dems must be DDoSing us. Jesus. Then they finally got the space going to where people could actually join it. I was able to join it myself. And I kid you not, it was like several minutes of this. They were just there and they were just muted while they tried to sort out the technical issues. Riveting conversation, folks. And here's the part that I really wanted to show to you guys. Okay, so again, we have Elon claiming that what happened was a DDoS attack. Okay, chat, that was his claim, that it was a DDoS attack that shut down the whole thing. And he tweeted out, another ex-staffer said there was a 99% chance Elon was lying about an attack. Oh shit! Oh shit! Don't think we needed an inside source to figure that one out. So this is from The Verge. 18 minutes after the conversation was supposed to begin, Musk claimed that X was the target of a massive DDoS attack that had made it impossible for the space to proceed as planned. The rest of X appears to be working normally, however, and a source at the company confirmed to The Verge that there wasn't an actual denial of service attack. Another X staffer said there was a 99% chance Elon was lying about an attack. Jeez. How am I not surprised, chat? We only got a little bit into the interview, and I already had to stop what I was doing just to debunk one of Elon's lies. Jesus. All right, let's continue.
Saturated all of our data lines, like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say, and but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview.
He's so monotone, says Nintendo Gamer. Yeah, he seems like genuinely uninterested to even be having this conversation, which you'll very quickly find out isn't the case, because he glazes Donald Trump so hard throughout the course of this conversation. It's a total fucking Glaze Fest.
So this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just try to make up their mind, so you can understand like what is what is it just like to have a conversation. So honored to
like, this is such a Glaze Fest. Okay, chat, just to give you an idea of how much of a Glaze Fest this shit was. Like, I don't know if Trump and Elon were in the same room during this thing, but if they were, by the end of the conversation, Donald Trump's shoes probably looked like a fucking glazed donut. Okay, like, I'm pretty sure Elon was having this conversation, dick in hand, just jerking off to how much he was glazing Donald Trump. I mean, it was that fucking bad.
Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people, and it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But
I think the funniest thing to come out of this is all the memes about Trump slurring. And like, as funny as it would be to think of Donald Trump having this interview while sloshed out of his mind, that's apparently like a common thing with like Twitter Spaces, where for some reason it makes you sound like you're slurring. Like, I think there was a debate that Vosh held one time over Twitter Spaces where everybody was laughing at him because he sounded like he was slurring too. And like, I don't know what it is about Twitter Spaces, but that's a thing. It literally makes you sound like you're slurring for some reason.
Congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you.
How do they know that they broke? This is a common thing that like Trump will say, basically brag about, like, oh, you broke the live streaming records and you like, you exceeded this like view count and stuff like that and this crowd size and stuff. It's like, do we have any sources to like back that up? That this is actually a thing that happened, or is he just making it up?
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I think we both know the answers to that, to be fair, though.
I mean, maybe we could start off with,
Also, one point that I want to make, isn't it kind of fucked that like a live streaming platform, because I do want to, I'm a little late to this one as well, but I do want to in the coming days do a reaction to the Donald Trump interview that he did with Aiden Ross, So we'll be reacting to that that's on stream at some point. But isn't it funny that a live streaming platform that's run by like scam artists, like, you know, digital casinos, was able to better handle the traffic for their interview with Trump than Twitter was? Like, I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty fucking pathetic if you ask me. But anyway.
Assassination Attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that, you know, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You know, you, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that's...
Did Elon actually watch the footage of, which, by the way, it's really funny how, like, as soon as, like, Kamala, you know, decided, like, when it was decided that she was going to run for the presidency when Biden dropped out, people completely forgot about, like, the Trump assassination attempt. Like, I remember when that happened, I was super doomer pilled because I was like, okay, you know, the Republicans are going to be able to play the sympathy card to get the win because of this incident. Like, this is going to be bad. Okay. Like, that's the way I looked at it. I was very doomer pilled at the time. But as soon as, like, Kamala started, like, running and campaigning, everybody forgot about the fact that this assassination attempt happened, and nobody talks about it anymore. And you can tell that that bothers Donald Trump, that everybody forgot about that shit and nobody talks about that shit anymore. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But did Elon actually watch the video of the assassination attempt? Because he talks about how, like, Trump didn't, like, duck down or anything. He did. Now, granted, he did eventually get up and he did the whole, like, fight thing, but, like, he did duck down. And, like, even, like, Secret Service, like, huddled over him and stuff. Like, yeah, he was on the ground, as, like, Mr. Slynn says.
I mean, you know, the president of the United States represents America, and I think that is America. That is strength under fire. And so that's, you know, a big, you know, part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to be honest.
Oh my God.
I said there was blood. I had more blood. I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place if you're going to get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about.
That's another thing. He talks about, like, all the blood or whatever. And, like, he was bleeding. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you could see that he was bleeding. But, like, he wasn't bleeding, like, that fucking much. Like, it wasn't that bad. So, like, I don't know why he always talks about, like, oh my God, there was so much blood. It really didn't seem like it was that bad.
Because it went at the right angle, and you know, it was a hard hit. It was very, I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. You know, I was telling somebody, you have instances like this, or like a lot less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation, and I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
Yeah.
And because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, bullets, bullets, get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly. And we had bullets flying right over.
See, even Donald says, like, you know, the way that, like, Elon described it isn't super accurate. Even he admits that he did go down, which, to be fair, is, like, the right thing to do. Obviously, if you're getting shot at, then yeah, it's probably a good idea to duck down if you haven't, you know, been hit fatally already. You don't want to get hit in a way that's going to, like, seriously injure you or whatever. So right thing to do, of course. And I also want to preface this by saying, like, obviously I don't condone, like, that kind of violence or whatever. I may not be a supporter of Trump or anything like that, but, like, I'm not advocating for, like, the guy getting killed or anything like that. If you really want to beat Donald Trump, the way to do it is in the polls, not by, like, trying to, like, assassinate the guy. Okay, so let's make that clear. But, like, it's funny though, because, like, even the way Trump describes the incident, he describes it differently than the way Elon does, where Elon's like, oh, like, you didn't even back down, you didn't duck down, like, anything, you were just like fight, and it's like, oh no, there was a moment, you know, where he did kind of duck down and, you know, kind of duck for cover. Like, that did happen. So I don't know if Elon just wasn't paying attention or something. I don't know.
Over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was
Yeah.
for those
Split
people that
second.
don't believe in God. I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect
Yeah.
angle, and all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart even
I mean,
more
maybe
now
it's a
that I
sign.
have.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's a sign, you know.
it's an immigration sign.
That's a new one. Okay. Basically advocating for the mass deportation of immigrants saved his life. Oh God.
You highlighted a serious issue, and
Yeah,
at that moment,
that's right.
the bullet missed your, you hit your ear, but missed your head. I mean,
Well,
you know,
the
yeah,
amazing thing is that the sign, I said, bring down that sign on immigration. And it was literally about an eighth of a second where it would be good. And after that, it was going to
yeah,
be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was
yeah,
exactly at this shooter. Very sad situation. Such a sad situation. As you know, we lost somebody that was great, Corey,
yeah,
who a firefighter, a great gentleman, a great trumper. He was just a fantastic family and a fantastic man. And a friend of mine came up, Elon, and said, "I'd like to give the family some kind of help." And I said, "All right, that's great." He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "I don't mind at all." And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife, and you know. She said, "This is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back," which is a nice thing for
sure,
somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great, and we raised a lot of
yeah,
money for them and for two other gentlemen are unbelievable people. Also, they were hit really badly. They thought they were not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. They saved the two, and they were really hit tough, both of them
yeah,
equally.
Missioner Lynn says, imagine if it were a leftist or an LGBTQ, we would have never heard the end of it. Yeah, I mean, that was obviously like, for a lot of people when it happened, that was like their biggest concern is, please, for the love of God, do not let it be a leftist, or do not let it, be somebody who's part of the like LGBTQ community or something, because like the conservatives will never let that shit go. And you notice how like once it came out that like they were registered as a Republican, like they tried to sweep that under the rug so quickly, like, oh my God, because it didn't fit the narrative. That's what they wanted the narrative to be. It was some leftist who was trying to like take him out, and it's like, no, like it was one of your own people, my guy.
And we thought
yeah,
my first question was because I heard bullets flying over me. I said, "How many people were killed?" Because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous
yeah,
thousands and thousands of people, and there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, "How many people have been killed?" Because I knew there were other shots being fired,
sure,
and they said, "We don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt." And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper,
yeah,
because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem. And he was
yeah,
able to pick it all out within 5 seconds. And he used one bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but he was on
yeah,
he was on the opposite side of the field and the podium, and he saw the smoke and the flame from the gun, immediately recognized it.
They fired him. Wait, is that true? Did the sharpshooter actually get fired? Because I gotta be honest, I didn't really follow this situation like that closely. Did they? I knew that the what is it? The person in charge of the Secret Service was basically pressured to resign, and they did resign. But did they actually fire the sharpshooter? That's news to me. That's insane to me that you have Donald Trump basically praising this guy's work. Meanwhile, they actually got fired? No one knows? Wait, why did you say that then? Yes, they fired the sharpshooter. My husband saw stuff about it. Wait, what do you mean? Because he was doing his job? So he did get fired or he didn't? I'm confused.
and immediately took a shot, and it was one perfect shot from very far away. And if he didn't do
Yeah,
that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could
Oh, no one knows why he got fired. Gotcha. Okay, that's insane.
have been
sure.
badly hurt and killed. So
Yeah.
Let me
I have
let
to
me
take my hat off.
let me praise the actions this guy took that day after, he apparently got fired from his job for the actions he took that day. That's insanity. Fucking insanity.
To him because that's also a surreal. You know, he's been with them for 23 years, and
Yeah,
he's never had anything like this. And all of a sudden, he has to act, and it's a very tough thing to
sure.
act and to be shooting somebody. But he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun, very far away. I obviously has very good eyes. He's got
Yeah, and saying he saved Trump's life, the guy would have kept firing. Yeah, true.
very good vision, which I assume you have
Yeah,
to have in that particular work. But he took
absolutely.
aim very quickly, and they say it was approximately 5 seconds from long range,
Yeah,
one bullet. If that didn't happen,
yeah,
because the shooter had a lot of bullets, he had a lot of cartridges up
sure.
there with him, so could
Well,
have been very.
that's clearly he was very competent in taking that shot to stop.
I heard Trump dodge the bullet last second by turning his head. Yeah, my understanding is that actually is true because you can watch the footage and see that he kind of turns his head, and that's right at the moment when the shots get fired. So essentially, what could have been, truthfully, it could have been a shot to the head for him had he not moved that way. It ended up just kind of nicking his ear, which whether you like Donald Trump or not, that's an insanely crazy to think that if it weren't for that small head movement, he'd be dead,
The attempted assassination. But I mean, there does seem to be some pretty significant failings elsewhere in the system. Like, there's just no way that, how on earth does a shooter get on a roof 130 yards away? That seems crazy. I think most people are what.
I will say that, I do think that there was some failures on the part of the Secret Service that day, that there was this building that was kind of my understanding was left wide open where this guy could get up there, that does seem like a shortcoming for sure. My understanding from because I did listen to, there was that hearing where the Secret Service director was talking about how that building was outside of the range of their coverage or whatever. I forget the exact language she used, but that to me that seems like a huge shortcoming. There's regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump or not, obviously, like I said, this type of violence is not the way that you beat Donald Trump. If you really want to see Donald Trump lose, vote against him in the election, okay? But having said that, that's insane that could happen. That was a huge shortcoming on the part of the Secret Service.
What people are wondering, how on earth could such a thing happen?
Well, I view it as two ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people,
Yeah,
because there were so many tens of thousands of people there. There were people that were seeing him, and there was one woman with a red shirt and
right.
Trump all over
I
it,
saw
and
the video.
she's screaming. That guy's got a gun. You saw it probably. There's a
No, I
guy
saw the
up there
video.
with a
I
gun.
mean, it's like I guess. I mean, for my part, and I think probably many members of the public.
I will say it is funny, how many times Trump has talked about this since the incident, because correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he say at the RNC that he didn't want to talk about this again because it was too traumatic? And it just seems like because nobody else is talking about it, people completely forgot about it after Kamala started campaigning. It seems like all he does is talk about it now. Any opportunity he can use to talk about it, he talks about it. It's pretty funny, which, like I said, a lot of people predicted they were probably going to use that as a means to get sympathy votes and stuff. So it makes sense that he would keep talking about it, but it's just kind of funny that he was yeah, I can't talk about this ever again because of the fact that, it's too traumatic. It's too traumatic. And literally every speaking engagement he's done since then, he's found some way to mention it. It's pretty insane.
All wondering, how the heck are basically people wondering by pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun.
Yeah.
And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed. That does seem
Yeah,
crazy.
well, they're going to learn from this. The communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then ultimately a man lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up, and
Yeah.
he saw the man with the gun. The man with the gun pointed the gun at him.
This is a police officer he's referring to, right? Because I think I saw the body cam footage of this, of the police officer who like spotted him and he tried to climb up on the roof and the guy pointed the gun back at him. Like, I'm pretty sure I seen that.
He thought he was probably going to get shot, but he was like pulling himself up, and because of that, he couldn't get to his gun, and he fell down.
Oh,
Actually,
geez, the RNC was very weird. Yeah, true. I mean, I think it's like, there's a lot of people who vote right that they're like, obviously there's, a lot of like people, like we've seen it on social media, a lot of like bigotry and stuff in regards to like, the kind of policies that they're trying to push, like anti-queer kind of like policies, stripping women of their rights and, stripping trans people of their rights, etc. But like, it's one of those things that like a lot of like right-leaning people would like you to believe like, oh, this isn't stuff that like actual right-wingers give a shit about. It's just like the really fringe people on the internet. But when you see something that was brought up that was like anti-trans sort of policies that Republicans wanted to push, the amount of crowd pop that they got when those topics were brought up, like it was huge. So like, I don't buy that when I hear that, like, I'm not going to say that, like, I think that every right winger is a bigoted person against like queer people or trans people or other like minority groups or et cetera, et cetera. But having said that, like, you can't say that like a large base of the like Republican voter base isn't in favor of that kind of stuff, because go back and watch the RNC and watch the huge crowd pops they get when those topics come up. Like, it's insanity.
Badly hurt his leg, his ankle.
So we got it wrong, but the Secret Service is potentially getting fired. They're under investigation because he saw someone with a rangefinder before the shooting, and it could have been avoided. I seen like they were saying that like they weren't sussed out by the rangefinder because apparently there's multiple like uses that people use a rangefinder for. I gotta be honest, I don't even know what a rangefinder is, but not all uses of a rangefinder are necessarily in regards to like sharpshooting, I guess. So that's why they weren't sussed out by that. But I do know that the Secret Service director, she was forced to resign, basically pressured to resign as a result of this. And she did resign. Yeah.
I hear very badly, but
Okay.
but he fell down, and he did. From what I understand, he did say there's a guy up there with a gun, and the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooter to go maybe.
Is to tell you how far away your target is, right? But like, my understanding, at least from what they said during that hearing, was that not all uses of a rangefinder, specifically in regards to sharpshooting. Like, there's other non-shooting related uses for a rangefinder as well. At least that's what they were saying when they were questioned about it.
Quicker. You're supposed to be a very good shot.
Yeah.
My sons, Don and Eric, they can't believe what happened, but they said from 130 yards, a bad shot would hit that target almost every time. They said it's like in golf,
Yeah.
sinking a 2-foot putt.
Yeah. It's not a tough shot.
It's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had triple the distance actually. So it was a terrible thing. It's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and I went down based on, I think they're screaming, but other people also, because people saw this happen. You had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of people get killed with those stampedes. We had more people than you'd have at, some of.
I mean, while it is true that a lot of times, like, those kind of like basically crowds running from like gunfire or stuff like that, while it could potentially cause like more injuries and stuff like that, so it's good from that perspective that people didn't run. Also, I don't know if it's like the smartest thing in the world to not at least try to flee for some type of cover and to just stand there. Like, I'm sorry, but like, you know, I don't care who it is. Like, I'm not gonna stand my ground for anyone if there's like shots being fired in my direction. Like, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to save my own ass and like my family's ass as well. Like my safety and the safety of my loved ones is very important to me, and I'm not standing my ground for some like politician. You know what I mean? I would have been like the fuck out of there. So like, I know like he's kind of like representing that as like, oh, you know, it was very like a smart thing that they didn't like run or whatever. And to some degree, like, yeah, the whole like the fact that it didn't like turn into a stampede to like potentially injure or kill other people, that's good, obviously. But like, yeah, I think just standing there is like, I don't know, it's kind of risky and weird.
These
it has its own risk associated with
games,
it.
And nobody left. You know, you had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running.
Yeah, exactly. Funny how I would have booked that shit too. I ain't getting shot for no one.
Didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down. And it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of...
If you ain't one of my loved ones, I'm not risking getting shot for you. I'm sorry. It's just not happening.
Thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler. As far as the eye could see, and a lot of press too. There were, you know, many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it so different, because normally things happen that aren't good, but you never have a picture of it. Here we have all these cameras shooting it, so you know, sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede.
Sure.
Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, you know, I mean, I'll tell you, you want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of them.
See, that's even worse. Is like them just like there's that infamous like shot of the guy who's like literally like he stood up, like if for whatever reason like the shooter wanted to specifically target that guy, it wouldn't be that difficult to do so, because he's literally standing up and he's like looking around, kind of being like nosy about the whole situation. Like, yeah, that's not very smart. Like, you shouldn't be applauding that guy for putting his life in danger like that.
Those people. Because it's so different from what you heard. But so I was down, but the Secret Service guys, there were bullets flying right over my head. You could hear them go whizzing, and these guys came jumping on top of me, and a young lady, Kate.
Yeah, exactly. Funny, haha. He was literally leaning in to take a look. True.
They moved so fast, and let me tell you, that took tremendous courage. Now, there was a lack of coordination. There was, you know, obviously everybody understands that somebody that building should have been covered. And
I mean,
that was the big thing.
like, I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the #1 spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like if you were to pick like what is the favorite, if the goal is to assassinate, what's your favorite spot? That building, the roof of that building would be #1.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can ask for a better location. It's like #1.
That would have been the spot. You know what people think is when the
guy probably thought he could have saved Trump. I mean, like, I feel like a lot of these like really deranged like Trump supporters, like if given the opportunity, they would like sacrifice their life for Donald Trump, because they literally look at this guy like he's some kind of like god to them. Like, they idolize him far beyond like what a normal person would like look at somebody that they look up to or whatever. So like it's a level of like utter insanity, to say the least.
Local
That's putting it
policeman,
lightly.
who, by the way, you know, he really he did what he was supposed to do. He couldn't hold on any longer. And then when he got his head just peeking above, this guy standing there with a gun at his head. And when he fell down, again, hurt his ankle very badly, but he was making the calls. But
yeah, it's a literal cult, exactly.
What happened is the firing took place very soon. So what they think is that this guy ran to his site, which he had all planned out with the gun. He ran to the site and he started shooting fast. And maybe that's why he sort of missed. I mean, you know, he got me, but it could have been. Could have been a much bigger problem.
But he totally would have hit if you hadn't turned your head. So, like, you know, there was it was a very near thing.
Could you imagine being somebody like, you could very clearly tell that Elon is one of these people that like completely idolizes Donald Trump, okay? And we have Donald Trump, someone who I don't buy it, but he's like set on record that like, yeah, this was a very traumatic event for me and I don't really want to talk about it. And then we have Elon here repeatedly telling him like, yeah, this could have totally killed you, my guy. Like, holy shit, man, you could have fucking died. Like, jeez, bro, like, what are you doing?
It was a miracle. If I hadn't turned my head,
Yeah.
I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like,
I know you said this is really traumatic for you, but like, dog, you could have died.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
like you,
Exactly.
I would not.
Yeah.
I would not be talking to you.
Maybe talking to me from another realm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. We'd be talking from a different place. But it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good. Everybody was so good. There was a mistake. If somebody knew, because people were hearing that, there was just a bad feeling that there was somebody was around. You know that story now. It's been
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah.
if somebody could have said, because they've oftentimes said, like there'd be a lightning storm or something, because I've done, I think, over 300. I think I did a lot more than that, but we did a lot. And oftentimes they'll say, sir, could you wait 10 minutes, please? Sir, could you wait 20 minutes? There's a storm overhead or lightning or something, right? And
Yeah.
that happens often. And this would have been a perfect time for that to have happened, but it didn't get coordinated. That was the problem.
What is this combo says chasing dopamine? I mean, it's literally a Glaze Fest, as I mentioned before. That's literally what's happening here. We literally have like just Elon Musk sucking off Donald Trump so hard, and like it's just doing it in front of everybody. Okay, like bro, like if you want to glaze the dude that hard, just get a fucking room. All right, it's okay.
Well, it was I think your actions in the heat of fire, and like what I
Nintendo Gamer says this interview is boring. Now you understand why I fell asleep to it. Now you understand why I fell asleep to it.
find admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there. And so
thank you very much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people know, I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up. And they wanted, they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the stretcher. And I knew I was hit in the ear, but I knew I wasn't hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else because it was such a lot of blood. And they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, sir, you were hitting more than the ear. I said, nope, I was hit in the ear. I want to get up. Let me get up. And so I got up, and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused. They didn't know what to think. And I wanted to let them know I was okay. It was very important for me to let them know that. And they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I got up because they didn't know, was I alive? You really couldn't tell. When I stood up before the fist in the air, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did. And when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It was a terrible thing, but it was
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of
Shagger in the chat says, oh, you're early in the call too. They spent forever talking about the assassination attempt. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of funny that during the RNC, Trump said I can never talk about this again because it was so traumatic, but they go on and on and on about it. I really do think that he's genuinely upset that people completely forgot about it and nobody gives a shit about it anymore, and they've just kind of moved on. He was really hoping to basically milk this for everything it's worth to try and secure himself the win, and it just didn't work because Kamala completely stole his thunder.
The sort of slide that got you to turn that saved your life really was the illegal immigration slide. Maybe this maybe this is worth talking about that.
It was
that slide saved your life.
No, the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it was
okay. I was actually joking when I said that he was making the argument that illegal immigration saved his life, but he literally said that. Oh my god, that's so funny.
And I had to
know,
be at
that's
that exact angle.
I mean, that's a great one. Saved by illegal
You know
immigration.
the incredible
100%.
thing though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle. But the
Yeah,
incredible thing is that the chart I used it less than 20% of the time. It was just a moment.
yeah,
It's always on my left, never my right, and it's always at the end of the speech. So here
yeah,
we have it. It's on the right, not the left. It's at the beginning, not the end. And even the people that put it up, they were unprepared, and they did a great job. They got it up immediately, fortunately. But I looked to the right, and the bullet came whizzing by, hitting my ear. So it was amazing. But when you think of the odds of that, and
yeah, yeah,
you know that normally you wouldn't use it. Normally I wouldn't have the thing, and then it would
yeah.
have been a very different story. It's very much I say an act of God. It's a miracle that it happened, and I'm
Sure.
honored by it. I'm honored by it.
Well, what,
Elon's literally groveling to Trump. He's like, "All hail King Trumpy Bear." Lol. I'm referencing a commercial I saw in TV a while ago with the Trumpy Bear thing. I have never seen this commercial before, but now I want to.
what were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted with a
Well, I was
bullet?
going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler, and we're going to go
Great.
back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area. Great, these are incredible people. Like the three that, in the case of Corey, killed, and the other two, the families are. I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler, and I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying,
As you
prior
were
to
saying,
Oh
being
exactly.
god.
so
So,
horribly interrupted.
yeah,
But
yeah. So rudely interrupted by an
yeah,
assassination
so it was,
attempt.
but no, but the chart,
Some people have no manners.
Elon, the chart was just a chart that in my last week we had the best illegal immigration numbers, meaning stopping. It was at the lowest. You've seen the chart; it's become quite a famous
Yeah,
chart.
yeah.
But
Trump
that
talks
was the
absolute nonsense is chasing dopamine. I mean, have you actually tried to watch like a Donald Trump speech? It really is that. Like, I know that they've been making fun of like the Dems for their like stump speeches, how a lot of it is just like parroting the same stuff over and over again, which is like, I mean, that's what a stump speech is. That's exactly what it is. But like when you watch Trump talk about something, like he just rambles all over the place. He'll like quickly change topic, and then when you completely forgot about what he was talking before, he'll shift back to like the other thing. Like it's hard to keep up with anything he says. He's just completely like 100% off script, and very little of anything that he says makes sense.
lowest
Yeah.
point ever recorded. It was a really, I mean, I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe. You see what happened. They just let it go. I had remain in Mexico policies. I had all these different policies that was so good. Guys like Tom Homan and Brandon Judd from Border Patrol. All these are all people that they've been on television. They says the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks, catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had things where many people come in there, they have contagious diseases. We had everything passed. If you have a contagious disease, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting
Yeah.
literally records, and I all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes,
Sure.
and in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that, but they were fantastic numbers. But I'm going to sleep with that chart always. I'll be sleeping with that chart. That chart was.
Weird. That's all I can say is weird. They wonder why we call them weird, and it's because of shit like that. It's just weird. That I'm gonna sleep with that chart now. Weird.
Was very important for a lot of reasons.
Well, would it be accurate to say that you're supportive of legal immigration, but that but we also need to shut down illegal immigration, and especially unvetted illegal
Yes.
immigration, because and that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately
100%.
represent your position?
I say it
Okay.
very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked.
Yeah.
Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's
Yeah.
saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite.
Did he really say that months ago? Because I'll be honest, like I don't know if he actually said that, but like that seems to be like his big thing is like, oh man, she shares a position that I do. She took that from me. Like that's mine. Like holy shit. Okay, like I guess it's possible for a broken clock to be right twice a day. Like holy shit.
They had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake.
Why would that be terrible? I mean, like, if she agrees with you on that position, you should see that as a good thing. See, this is where we have some common ground. We both agree. Tax on tips is a bad thing for waitresses and other service people. So, like, you should be happy that she agrees with you on that. How is that a terrible thing?
Now they're also saying they did a good job on the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country.
Like, I feel like if you see that as a terrible thing, that tells me that you don't actually care about that. Like, you're just saying what you think is going to get you the vote. You don't actually give a shit about it. Because if you actually gave a shit about it, you would think it was a good thing if they both agreed with you on it.
There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think...
Chasing Dopamine says we can never tax the tip. That's bullshit, because let me tell you, when my YouTube channel was doing well, the government definitely taxed the fuck out of the tip, okay? Oh, shit! That is not true.
You believe this too. You hear 12 million, 13. I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums, and many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world, they're coming from Asia.
Yeah. Every time he says anything about like immigrants, he always makes them sound like they're a pest. They're like a blight on society. Like they're the most like inhuman beings in existence. It's gross, isn't it?
They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from countries that are stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you look at, it's so sad, October 7th, because it should have never happened.
Yeah.
It's so sad when you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5.
Yeah, I see a couple of people pointing out that they don't point out any of like people that immigrate from Europe. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? It's only like, Mexico and like Middle Eastern countries and like, Africa and stuff like that. That's what they perceive to be like bad places where immigrants come from. But if anybody immigrates into the country from like a European country, we don't need to worry about that. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Months that they can do something, but they won't do anything. It's all talk. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something because he's not too good.
Yeah. No, I think it is.
Wasn't he literally praising like Tim Walz and the way that he handled the situation with like the BLM riots? I'm pretty sure there's audio out there of Donald Trump praising the way Tim Walz handled that in his state. But now he's incompetent. Interesting.
Essential to have a secure border. I mean, you're really not a country unless you have a
Correct.
secure border,
And secure elections, too.
you know, yeah, absolutely secure elections, and so it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country, and our services, our essential services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities. As we were talking about earlier, I think having a legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well, and speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant, I think that I mean, like one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? Who do you want on Team America? And I think we want to just say, okay, we want to let in people who are gonna be great contributors to our society and to our economy,
Right.
and and who do you want on the team? And it's not to say that, like in my opinion, actually, I'd say like probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. But some are not, and you just have this sort of adverse selection process where if somebody's if somebody's like uh, has a career in theft or robbery, I don't understand what's taken them so long to get here, because we're such a target-rich environment. I mean, why aren't more people who have a career in, bad things coming here sooner? Because it's a piece of cake to go rob, houses in LA or New York, compared to other parts of the world. And in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's insane.
It's right. I mean, what's happening with crime, and our police are so
It's always weird to hear like this insane like fabrication of what they think, society is like really like. They just make up this like silly stuff of like, oh, you're the one getting robbed, but you're gonna get arrested when you were the one that got robbed. Like, I don't actually believe that. I feel like if you have a situation like that, there's probably, a situation where somebody kills like somebody who's like a home invader, and like there wasn't justification to do the killing, like that sort of thing. But like, you're not just gonna have a situation where like the cops roll up, you call the cops because somebody broke into your home, and you're gonna be the one that's just gonna end up in handcuffs for like no fucking reason. Like, yeah, that's really dumb. That's not real.
good, but they're not allowed
That's
to
a statement that's not based in reality.
do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon, I
They're
hate
not.
to say it because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it. I hate it. But you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're
I
allowing,
think you're
again,
right.
they're
Yeah.
allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers. They're taking, frankly, their prisoners. They're emptying out their prisons. They're taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're
Yeah,
delivering them into
but
the.
that's what Castro did.
Yeah,
That
well, he did on a much smaller.
Oh, he forgot the line. The one where like previously he said, yeah, and some of them are good people. He forgot that part of the line. He just left in the part where he basically makes everybody who immigrates to our country just sound like, utter filth in society. Like he forgot the part that kind of like he can use as a shield to be like, no, I'm not racist, or I'm not xenophobic or anything like that. I just think that there's a lot of really bad people that immigrate to our country, but some of them are good people. He kind of slipped up on that one.
Scale.
He let the mask slip a little bit.
It was a much smaller
Yeah.
scale. But this is a massive scale because this is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening. Crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have. This is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be.
Yeah.
And I saw it today in New York where somebody was knifed with raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters. and started
Sure.
pulling out the knives, and bad things happen today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for
Yeah.
murder and all sorts of things, and they're releasing them into our country, and they're telling them, if you come back, we're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people.
Yeah.
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people. And it's horrible what they're doing. And she's in charge of it because,
does that
now
even
she's trying to say she had
What does that
nothing to do with
mean?
it. And she's such a liar.
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people. What is it supposed to mean? What the fuck?
Because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location, which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I
Right.
guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
had nothing to do with the problem
Yeah.
is. But she was the
Well,
border czar, and the people
Yeah, yeah.
can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was.
This whole thing is just Trump just bitching the whole time. Most of what he's saying, it either doesn't make sense, it's not based in reality, or it's just complaining. Like, it just sounds like the most pathetic shit ever. You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds a lot like cope.
You are coping.
Sounds like a lot of cope to me. I think Trump realizes that his campaign is fucked, and Kamala's doing great in the polls, and he's shitting the bed. Because he knows, like, his chances of winning this are very slim. I think that's what's happening here.
Coping so hard.
You act like a little bitch right now.
Doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known what happened. You could shut the border down, he wouldn't even know the difference. But the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her that, the fact is you could just call her. She was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst
Right.
ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's horrible.
Whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see
No wonder you fell asleep during this tipster. Yeah, you get it, right? You get it.
things, you're like, is it real? I went to the border at Eagle.
Like, if you're ever having a hard time, falling asleep at night, because we've all been there. Chat one in the chat if you've ever had one of those moments where maybe your mind is wandering, or maybe you had a rough day, so you just can't fall asleep or whatever. One in the chat if you've ever been there before. If you're ever having a hard time, falling asleep, before you reach for the melatonin or you do the whole NyQuil trick or something like that, although they have ZQL now, you should use the ZQL, not the NyQuil, because that's habit forming. But like, before you reach for like some kind of supplement to help you fall asleep, just turn on this interview. Turn it on. I guarantee you listen to it for about 10 to 15 minutes. You'll be out like that. Almost as good as counting sheep.
Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly.
These are
people can look at my
One in the chat if you think that this is a real story that Elon's telling. That this story that he's telling right now is based in reality. That he actually went to the border and this actually happened. One in the chat if you believe that it's true. I don't anticipate I'll see many ones.
video and say,
Yeah.
hey, does these people look friendly? I don't look super friendly. So
These are people that Elon would not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough people. These are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people. And these are people that we don't want in our country. And, the caravans are coming in and they're putting, and who's doing this?
I like how he says, I know rough people. Like, I know what bad people look like. Yeah, you would have a pretty good idea of what a bad person is like because you are a bad person yourself.
Oh, shit!
The heads of the countries. And you would be doing it, and so would I. And everyone would say, oh, what a terrible thing to say. The fact is, it's brilliant for them because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And I hate to say this, the reason the numbers are much bigger than you would think is they're also taking their non-productive people. Now, these aren't people that will kill you. We have enough of them, but these are people that are non-productive. They are just not productive.
One thing I thought was funny that Elon said after this conversation is he basically said, you know, I'd welcome Kamala to have a conversation like this as well. So Kamala, if you want to do a Twitter space with me and we can have one of these conversations too, we could definitely do that. Do you honestly think that he would glaze Kamala Harris as much as he's glazing Donald Trump right now? I think we all know the answer to that.
I mean, for whatever reason, they're not workers or they don't want to work or whatever. And these countries are getting rid of non-productive people in the caravans in many cases. And they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug dealers and the people that are really brutal people. And they're coming into our country at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years,
Yeah, no, no.
we have 20 million people
I
poured
think,
in. It's a terrible.
yeah, I think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past, 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't
left
have a country
at that
left.
point.
Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. You know, we think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, you know, the 4. But it's not that. It's
I think the funniest thing about like them having this conversation about immigration and how much they need to like close up the borders and stuff is the fact that Elon Musk is himself an immigrant. He's not from the United States. He immigrated to this country. So it's really funny to see them demonize immigrants when Elon Musk, who is in this call, is an immigrant himself.
everywhere. They're coming in from everywhere. And I had to stay in Mexico.
Yeah, I think this is a super important point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico.
No, Mexico less.
It's just the border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the
We're
US.
already overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York, and I love that place. And
Elon's granddaughter disowned him. I don't take anything he says seriously. Have you seen all the shade that his daughter has been throwing at him on social media? Because he did that interview. I forget who he did the interview with. I'm sure somebody in the chat would know what I'm talking about. But he did an interview where he literally said that his daughter was dead to him. He misgendered her, but he said his daughter was dead to him. That's just fucked up. Insanely fucked up. Yeah, with Jordan Peterson. That's the one. Thank you.
what they're doing to it is horrible, what they're doing to it. And all the courts do is they try and focus on Trump.
Maybe we should react to that interview one day, chat. I know I'm a little late to the game. I'm having to get caught up on stuff because I hadn't done topics on stream in a while. But one in the chat, if that's an interview you guys would like to react to in a future stream as well. Let me know.
Okay, then let's focus on Trump, who did nothing wrong. I complain about a rigged election. Elon, what's happened is unbelievable. You have from Africa, from the Congo, they're coming, from the Congo. And 22 people came in from the Congo recently, and they're murderers. And they drop them, they take them out of jails, which is very expensive, to maintain the jails, although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons, they take them out, and they bring them to the United States. They deposit them in the United States and say, don't ever come back or you're going to be executed. And they don't want to come back, but they won't come back.
Sure.
But they're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from South America.
We should do the Trump interview where he questions Kamala's race too. That was unhinged. There were so many similarities between that and, people who were part of the birther movement, people who were basically questioning the legitimacy of Barack Obama's citizenship in the United States and whether he actually qualified to be president of the United States. Like it was very similar to that. Like, do you guys see the similarities to that as well?
Coming from
Rest of Earth,
everywhere,
basically.
and there are a lot of
Yeah,
really
everywhere on
bad
Earth.
ones.
It's just an everywhere on Earth thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth, or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just not possible.
Well,
So
Elon, we're going to have
that's
just to
yeah.
finish this up. We're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country what they've done to our country. Think of it with in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have. I'll tell you what, Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of about 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about 50% put into the United States. The same with other countries. Some
Sure.
are 30%, some are at 50%. They're all different.
You're gonna hear just finish up a lot. Yeah, because like I'm looking at this and we're not even halfway through this thing, and he's talking about wanting to like finish up. Like, yeah, that's not happening. Hey, thank you.
ShadowLunu88 became a Twitch subscriber.
Thank you very
Hello
much.
everyone in the chat. Adam TV Wave. Hello Ohio.
Thank you very much for that sub. I appreciate it.
But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of
Yeah.
And they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad.
I mean, he's not wrong there. Biden did very poorly in the debate, and the two flubs he had in public events after that, basically, what was it? He called Zelensky, referred to him as Putin. That was pretty bad. And then he also did he refer to Vice President Kamala as Trump, if I remember correctly? Like, those were like two public speaking engagements in a row where he fucked up someone's name. That was bad. Between the assassination attempt and those three incidents, I thought for sure, we're losing this. If Biden doesn't drop out, we're losing this. And so Biden dropping out was the best thing that could have happened to the left, because honestly, if he was still in it, I don't think we would be as hopeful as we are now. That's just the truth.
It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. The first night they said, wow, one of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about
it. But the thing is, Trump didn't even perform well in that debate. It's just that Biden performed so poorly. Like, his passable performance was better than Biden. That's all it was. It's just Biden did a really bad job.
That they just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different...
Yeah.
Look, she hasn't done an interview.
I don't want to hear this man talk about incompetence. I recently watched a documentary that I want to react to with you guys on stream. It's like a few years old, but I think it's especially relevant to watch this documentary on stream with you guys, considering, we're approaching an election where there's a very real possibility that this guy could get elected again. I don't want to hear this guy talk about incompetence after how poorly he handled a lot of things poorly during his presidency. But the one thing alone that I think would sway a lot of people who are swing voters is his handling of COVID-19. There's a documentary, I have it in my topic subs, and we will be reacting to this on a future stream. This documentary, if you want to look it up yourselves, I'll actually link it in the chat. It's called The Full Story of Trump and COVID-19. We're going to react to that on a future stream, because the way he handled that pandemic was an absolute disaster. It's insane to me. So we're going to react to that on stream in the future. But if you guys want to check that out now, maybe you don't want to wait for the stream. There's the link. I just posted it in the chat. But holy shit. Don't talk to me. Trump, don't talk to me about incompetence, my guy.
Since
you have no place to talk about incompetence.
Scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way or we can do it the hard way.
Yeah, not, I mean, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him. You know,
What they did
Biden.
with this guy,
So,
and I'm no
yeah.
fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all,
You don't give a fuck about Biden being pushed out. You're only mad because you knew that you had basically, he had a shoe-in for the win if Biden continued to run. Let's be completely honest here. There was a very good chance he was going to win if Biden continued to run. Okay. Like, it was that bad. Okay. That's the only reason he's mad, because now he actually has to fight for it. And he knows even that probably isn't going to secure him the win. Like, Kamala is getting so much support right now. Like, he actually has to fight for it. And he doesn't want to have to do that.
the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it.
Well,
And we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of it. You take a few of those events away, and we have a different world. We would also have inflation was caused by oil.
Yeah, no. I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are, are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that,
He's mega salty. Oh, he's beyond salty. Like, I could taste the salt from here.
they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do? And
I could taste the salt so much I just fucking choked on it.
do they fear the American president, or is it someone they do not respect and do not fear? And I think they would rightfully be. I mean, look at the footage with the assassination. They're like, okay, President Trump is like, don't mess with me.
Chasing Dopamine says, can you do that again? Look, I get that I'm a very attractive, sexy man, but I'm not here to arouse you, okay? I think that's your husband's job. Ask your husband's job to do it next time.
I mean, that's like, whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of global security. That if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge difference to the security of the world.
So I had a good relationship with Putin, despite the Russia.
I gotta be honest. I don't know if we're gonna get through this whole thing again, chat. I honestly feel like I'm gonna fall asleep again. I feel like if we get through this, we're gonna get through as much of this as we can, but I don't think we're gonna get through the whole thing, because I honestly feel like I'm gonna fall asleep if we keep up with the whole thing. I'm sorry.
Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam Schiff, some just bad people, just sick people. Frankly, I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But, they put our country in danger with that stuff, too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say, I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down.
Wait, like, didn't he literally just say he was friendly with Putin earlier? Now he's saying he's not friendly with Putin? Like, my guy, make up your fucking mind. Were you friendly with Putin or not?
Down his pipeline.
Did I mishear that, chat? Like, he actually said that. He said he was friendly with Putin a moment ago, and now he's saying he wasn't. What?
The biggest pipeline, they were looking at that to fund, and this pathetic president gets in there.
Which I don't know why you think bragging about being friendly with Putin is like a good thing. I'm willing to bet that most Americans wouldn't see that as a good thing, that you're friendly with, like, one of our country's biggest rivals. Like, I don't know, maybe I don't understand geopolitical relationships very well, and admittedly, like, I'm not super knowledgeable of that stuff, but I think it's safe to say that most people wouldn't want us to be, like, best buddies with one of, like, our biggest rivals. No?
And the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers. Shuts it down. That was, a massive job that
Trump is a Russian asset for Putin. I mean, yeah, it definitely seems that way.
Obama refused to allow.
Yeah.
I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
He shuts that down and he approves the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
Right?
sense. It's inconsistent. Certainly, but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security, because there's some real.
I mean, I think there's some truth to that. Yeah, you do want other like nations, the leaders of other nations to be, intimidated by your leader in hopes that they won't, do anything aggressive toward you for sure. Like that makes sense. But I'm sorry, like with how incompetent Donald Trump is, I don't think anybody would see Donald Trump as intimidating. Like what?
Real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of
and
them.
that puts it puts the
Yeah.
whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one
It's
of
a
them,
big
and I
deal.
know them well. I know Putin,
Yeah.
I know President Xi, I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, oh, this is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough, they're smart, they're vicious, and they're going to protect their country, whether they love their country. They probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these
Yeah.
are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a
Is he pretending to like both sides, like all these people that we can all agree are like genuinely like horrible people? He's pretending to like both sides them, like be neutral on the topic of them, but then he proceeds to like glaze them. What?
Kamala, or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. When I was there, and I say it with respect because I think we would have been good with.
We need to make sure he doesn't win. Says funny, haha. I agree. Like, don't let the polls like basically put you into a feeling of like complacency where it's like, she doesn't need my vote, she's gonna win. Make sure your ass gets to those fucking ballot boxes and fucking votes, okay? Even if you're going like the mail-in ballot route, just vote, just fucking vote, okay? Because we can't let this clown win. We cannot let this clown run our country for another 4 years.
With Iran, I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy.
Josh says different form of love. Isn't Putin punishing LGBTQ people? I believe I've heard something about that. Admittedly, I'm not super well versed on Russia. I'm sure someone in chat can vouch for that. But like, I believe I did hear something about that. Yeah.
Buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it.
Or longer than 4 years? Yeah, true. If the whole Project 2025 thing goes through, like, holy shit. Like, I understand, like, Project 2025 is a lot of stuff to like dig into. If you really want to follow a streamer who's been doing some great work on covering Project 2025, I highly recommend Riverboat Jack. But also Legal Eagle did a video on Project 2025 that summarizes it very well. So if you want like a decent summary of what Project 2025 is about, highly recommend Legal Eagle's video. And if you want something that's more in depth, I highly recommend checking out Riverboat Jack's channel. She's been doing an amazing job covering Project 2025. It's really scary stuff.
And they said, we'll pass.
Yeah.
They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise.
Sure.
You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where When I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil, but they had no money, and Israel would have never been attacked. It is zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And you know, it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well.
I said, no way. And he said, way. Like, can you imagine, like, that there's no way this conversation actually fucking happened? Oh my God. I said, no way. And he said, way.
With them. I hope to get along well with them again. You know, getting along well with them is a good thing, not a bad thing. I got along well with Kim Jong-un. When I met with President Obama just before entering, you know, it's a sort of a ritual. And I sat down with him and we talked. It was supposed to be for a very short period of time. It turned out to be a long period of time. I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, you know, all the different things.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they were.
Like,
they were epic. Everything he said.
I'm losing so many brain cells. Yeah, it's insane how he's able to like parrot like literal bullshit and go completely unchecked the entire time.
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
He said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and my red button works. And then I called him Little Rocket Man, if Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden, I got a call from him, and they said they want to meet. They want to meet me. And we met, as you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with them great. We were in no danger.
Emmy in the chat says, I have such a headache from this. One in the chat if you guys think we should bail on this, because like this level of like glazing and just like mind fuckery is just like, it's utter insanity. I feel like I'm losing brain cells here too.
But President Obama thought we were going to end up in a war.
One in the chat if you guys want me to end the suffering.
Or a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of nuclear stuff too.
Exactly.
He's got plenty of nuclear. He can do plenty of damage. So
yes, I mean it's because people like Kim Jong-un, they respond to strength, not weakness.
Well.
He and I
had a good relationship. Remember I met him and we.
Okay, it seems like the chat has had enough too. I think I'm done, chat. I think this is where we ended. But I do want to talk about one brief thing that happened as a result of this interview before we wrap up this segment. So let me pull that up real quick.
The United Auto Workers Union has filed federal labor charges against both Trump and Musk after the X interview last night. The UAW claims that Trump and Musk threatened and intimidated workers who engaged in protected activities like strikes.
I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone.
They said the quiet part out loud. Oh, shit! Oh, my God. What an idiot. So, yeah, this whole thing has been utter insanity. Just like many of you guys in the chat, I can't tolerate listening to any more of this. It's so mind-numbing to just hear these two go on and on and on about so many things that aren't even based in reality and just make no sense. And, like, Elon, like, get off the ground, get off your knees, and stop glazing Trump, okay? Like, it just makes you look really fucking pathetic, my guy. Like, seriously, have a little bit of self-dignity. Like, Jesus.